Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about the disgrace, which is the media pylon ahead of a massive game for Manchester United. Sources, well-placed sources, tomato sources. It's all bullshit in my opinion because Erik ten Hag is the man for Manchester United in the medium to short term, and there shouldn't be pressure being put on an enormous game for Manchester United by the media that are fed by this football club. We'll be calling them out tonight. We'll also be talking about this story about Casemiro going in January. You can clip this straight away. You sell Casemiro in January, forget about European football next year. It'll be gone, gone, gone. It's cost cutting. That's all it is. It's not about talent. This is not about talent replacement. This is about saving money because we missed out on the Champions League. Call it for what it is. Call it for what it is. We'll also be talking about a few other bits as well. Ten Hag's comments this afternoon in the press conference. Injury returns and back. And of course, it is the Friday night show, which means it's a little bit normal than usual. It's not as normal as usual. Normally I'd be running up the hill, but I brought it with me. So cheers to everyone. It's Christmas. Let's get into it. And in keeping with the fact that it is Christmas, we do have... what do we have for you? We do have a sponsor for you tonight, which is our old friends Surfshark. If you don't know what Surfshark is all about, I'm going to tell you. Surfshark is a virtual private network. It protects your private messages, your photos, your videos, and other sensitive material. But the coolest feature of Surfshark, and the thing I think you'll like the most, is that if you're in America and you want to log into your Netflix in London, you just change your location to London. So you can be all around the world, but log in to, as if you're in somewhere else. Fantastic, cool feature. Check that out. Also, you can use it on an unlimited number of devices simultaneously, and it's compatible with Android, iOS, etc. And the exciting part is that this month Surfshark are rolling out an exceptional deal for all of you viewers. Just for using the promo code United Stand, you can get up to 6 extra months for free on your Surfshark subscription. That's right, up to half a year of premium digital protection at no additional cost. This offer is exclusively for you, so make sure you to grab it while it lasts. Remember, the code is United Stand, 6 months extra free. And don't forget that Surfshark is a virtual private network, so it protects you when you're online. You can be in different locations if you want to try different things out. Check it out. Link is in the video description. Big shout out to Surfshark. It's an amazing opportunity exclusively for you. Links in the description and scan the QR code. Right, thank you very much to Surfshark for that. Let's get into the show. I want to talk about quite a few things actually, but I want to start off with primarily the big talking point. And I'm not exclusively picking on Samuel Luckhurst here in the Manchester Evening News, although he has been banned before for this sort of thing. Basically put a story out today. Now, Beth's done a great job today on the morning show and the afternoon show. I've been busy doing other things, and but I thought this is my show tonight. So let me read the article so I don't get misquoted. Erik ten Hag is expected to come under greater pressure at Manchester United if they lose badly to Liverpool on Sunday. Well-placed sources say Ten Hag's position will be viewed as weaker if they suffer a third successive defeat at Anfield. Barring another annihilation by their greatest rivals, Ten Hag is still expected to remain in charge for the fixture away to West Ham on December the 23rd. I detest this type of article. I have to acknowledge freedom of speech. I have to acknowledge that journalists can write what they want and should write what they want. But I can say what I want, and you can say what you want as well within reason. There's nothing in that article from the Manchester Evening News or Samuel Luckhurst that's toxic, abusive, or out of line. I will say that straight away. And there'll be nothing that's toxic or abusive or out of line from me in my response. But what I will say is that how does this help Manchester United Football Club? And these journalists, they're not, I don't think you're journalists, really. I don't think you're journalists. I think you are 100% dependent on your relationship with Manchester United. I think if you don't have your press conference access, you are nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I question why it is you bite the hand that feeds you. That is my problem with this. I think it's a disgrace, to be honest. You know, Manchester Evening News, The Telegraph, whatever, those journalists who follow Manchester United around are dependent on the access they get to the press conferences. If that is revoked, what are you? What are you? And yet, you think it's a good idea to put articles out about well-placed sources telling you that if we get annihilated on Sunday, Ten Hag could lose his job. How does that help the club that feeds you? And I'm not saying that you should be helping the club that feeds you, but like, I don't understand the point of your well-placed source. Who is your well-placed source? Because I know that Ineos aren't thinking of getting rid of Ten Hag yet because they haven't even got their feet under the table. I know that the current CEO, which it actually says in Luckhurst's article, hasn't got the power to sack Erik Ten Hag. And I wouldn't imagine John Murtagh has. So the only person that's got the power to sack Erik Ten Hag is Joel Glazer, who won't want to sack anyone because it's going to cost him 20 million quid. So who is the well-placed source? That's what I'm asking. And I'm like, look, your whole repertoire is based on access to Manchester United. And you want to jeopardise that with what is quite clearly nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And also, I'm pretty sure you'll want to be in the press conference next week. I'm pretty sure you'll want to be in the press conference next year. If Manchester United lose at the weekend, how does that benefit you unless you want the manager to go? And I think that's what it all comes down to. And that's my sort of tap into the empty net. I think that this is the... I'm absolutely convinced that these journalists never wanted Ten Hag in the first place, and that's why they never stop bitching about well-placed sources about this manager. We've had dressing room links for 18 months. You know, when we're now getting that Ten Hag's job could be in danger if he loses to Liverpool. Well, we all know we're going to lose to Liverpool. So what's that all about? And what good does that do to a fan base which is still behind this manager, but certain fans aren't? They're actually going to start hoping we get beat on Sunday. And what does it do to a dressing room that we know is split? Well, the players that, you know, they might read that and think, well, you know what, if I down tools again. I just think... my issue with this is we're not playing Bournemouth at home. We're playing Liverpool away. And if you know anything about this football club, anything at all, Liverpool are our biggest rival. I don't care if David Moyes is in charge. I want to go and win on Sunday. Nothing is worth losing to Liverpool. And yet we have stories about if he loses at the weekend, he might lose his job. And I've seen people going, this could be it. Get ready. And I'm like, who are you? Who are you? What? I don't give a shit if Scott McTominay scores 20 goals on Sunday as long as we win. This is Manchester United against Liverpool. And I think this is where we go wrong. Our fan base needs to unite around the things that are important, and not losing to Liverpool is very, very important. It's who we are. I'm not going to name names, but I spoke to somebody today and they said, I wouldn't mind getting beat 5 or 6-0 if I knew that Ten Hag was getting the sack on Monday. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You take getting beat 5 or 6-0 by Liverpool to replace a manager. We've replaced managers more times than you've replaced your pants over the last 10 years. Replacing a manager, wow. Losing to Liverpool like 5 or 6-0 again, you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult to deal with. That's what we're doing on Sunday. And this is my point. We should all be united for the war we have on Sunday. We're going to war against our biggest rival at Anfield. And there's so much backstabbing and dissent. I don't get it. I just do not get it. I don't know whether these journalists support Manchester United or not, or whether they're just on the bloody payroll, but we're Manchester United. We should be getting behind the team and the manager and the players and the club and the fans collectively, because we're going to play Liverpool. There is no joy in getting beat by Liverpool. I don't care what happens next. I don't care whether Ten Hag gets a new contract if he wins or if he gets sacked if he loses. All I'm focused on is a massive game, and this just detracts from it. It detracts from it. And I you know what? I think it does need calling out, because I just do not think it's right to be going into a game like this after the season we've had with rumours that Ten Hag could be under increasing pressure to get the sack if he loses to Liverpool. They're top of the bloody league. They've not lost a game all season apart from the one VAR took away from them. I do not expect us to win on Sunday, but I'm not giving up. I am not giving up, and I want those players to go and fight for the fans who are behind them. That's what I want to see. But, you know, I think, and I said this a few weeks ago, I feel that this is almost a tipping point where the media are fed up of social media, where the media are losing their voice. And I think that this is their last throw of the dice to try and sack a manager when they don't have fan support. I think they are pushing and pushing and pushing, constantly trying to push stories against Ten Hag. And actually, nothing from the club suggests he's going to get the sack. Nothing from Ineos is suggesting he's going to get the sack. And 70 to 80% of the fans are behind the manager. So it just feels to me a little bit like the Pochettino push 18 months ago. It's the media. I think the media are pushing this. Erik ten Hag is sacking himself, says the Ferocious. Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and deny that, mate. I'm not going to sit here and deny that it's not impossible that Erik ten Hag gets the sack. But I feel that, we're a long way away from that. Marvin says at least the media is upholding the standards. Marvin, you're a very intelligent person. You've made many good comments over the years, but that's probably the worst comment you've ever made. The media is upholding the standards. The media wouldn't know standards if it bit them on the arse, mate. The media are driven by something very different, and you know it is. When you're using the media as the bastions of virtue of what's good for Manchester United, you've lost the argument, pal. You're better off standing on your own with your Ten Hag out movement. I'd respect it more. The dude lost 12 out of 24, Mark. It's more than overdue, says Save the Cats. He also got to 50 wins quicker than any other manager in our history. We're not drawing games, mate. You know, there's a hidden context to everything around Manchester United. We don't draw. So all these people who say we've lost 12 out of 24, we've probably won the other 12 as well. So, you've got to take that into context. Nice jumper, Mark, says Junior. You can get yours for Christmas. United Stand Shopify. We're still delivering them worldwide. But you know what? I saw a fantastic clip. I want to talk about this Casemiro stuff and get your questions in. It's a Friday night. It's not a normal show. It's not a normal show. It's not a normal time as well. I'm live earlier because I'll be well on the way for the watch along. I'm doing Forest versus Spurs watch along. Leaf says, "Let's all down tools, then disgrace." Well, I think stories like this encourage players to down tools. That's my problem. I think these sort of stories encourage players, and there are players within that dressing room who want Ten Hag gone. I'm not going to lie. There are players in that dressing room who want Ten Hag gone, and if they hear that if he loses on Sunday, then he could be losing his job, then they've only got to get through one game of not trying, haven't they? But I'm sure you've seen this clip before, and it's surfaced on social media again today. There is a clip of Erik ten Hag when he was managing Ajax, and he has a go at a younger player, and he basically says, "You've got to work for the team. This is about the team. It's not about you. You've got to work hard." And he's shouting at him, sternly giving him a bollocking, and it gets captured on camera. And somebody on social media said today, this is never going to work at Manchester United. And it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. The egos that we have in that dressing room are never, ever going to react to being shouted at like that. You've got to work hard, this, that, and the other. Because we've created the most pampered, overpaid bunch of, unreliable players we've probably had in Premier League history. Well, we certainly had in Premier League history. And I think that is a big problem. I think, what do you do with a manager? What do you do when you've got a manager that wants to be stern and strict, but a playing squad that will not accept it? Rangnick had exactly the same problem. Jose Mourinho had exactly the same problem. I'm posing the question to the Ten Hag outers here. What manager are you going to bring in to work in with this squad when they will not, and actually will work hard against any coach that comes in and tries to be a dictator? Ten Hag can be a dictator. Mourinho can be a dictator. Rangnick would have been a dictator. But those players don't respond to it. They do not respond to it. So what do you do? People are recommending more dictator-type managers, but how does it work when the players go, you know what happened to Rangnick? We've been here longer than you. There's more of us than you. You're on your own. We're not doing it. And Rangnick couldn't do it. And if that's happening to Ten Hag, it certainly happened to Jose at the end. These players gang up and get their own way. So replacing the manager, I'm intrigued by what manager's going to come in and do your job that you want when you sack Ten Hag. To me, I find it amazing. I find it absolutely amazing that there are people potentially getting excited about losing to Liverpool so we can replace Ten Hag. And I tell you what, maybe that's why we're looking at Potter, because by all accounts, he's a soft touch anyway. So maybe that's the right manager for Manchester United, a manager where they can be in charge, where the players rule. But it's all right saying bring a dictator manager in, but if you've got the players that are more powerful than you, this is what I'm talking about. It's the structure at the club. It's about the structure. It's about the players. I look at that Manchester United side. I don't see a structure. I don't see the players. And I don't see a structure. I don't see a structure that backs the manager. And I think that's the most important thing. You can bring a manager in that wants to make decisions, but he must be empowered by people above him, because otherwise you will have the players ruling the house. What needs to happen is, as CEO of Manchester United, I need to be backing Ten Hag. I need to go, right, you're a problem, get out. You can't sell him. He's been here years. He's gone. Fuck off. And you're going with him as well. And where are you going to go? You're playing for fucking Everton, mate. You're not getting brand exposure with your millions of followers on Twitter anymore. You're gone. Fuck off. That's what Manchester United need. They need somebody with a set of balls. That's what they need. Because these players will shit themselves. That's what bullies do. They shit themselves when people stand up to them. These players need Manchester United more than Manchester United need them. The problem is we're balls deep financially. We're terrified. We're terrified. We'd rather sack a manager than get rid of a player that we can't sell who's on 200-300 grand a week with a big contract. But actually, if you're a football club, you deal with this very, very easily. The manager's in charge. You do as he says. And if you lot start again, you're gone, and you'll be gone. You divide and conquer. But for some reason, we've not been able to do this. And that's why I think there's some quick wins for people like Sir Jim Radcliffe. I saw a super chat there that I didn't read out. Parker says, Mark, you've often said last year's performance was masked by our very good defence. Look at this season. Did we really play well last season? No, I don't think we did. I don't think we did. And, you know, I'm going to be one of the first people to acknowledge that last season was miraculous. I don't think we did play good football. I don't know whether Robert McCormack's in the show tonight, but it was something he said at the end of the season that resonated with me. Very good season last year, but I want to see better football because we didn't see a lot of it. And I think it's absolutely correct. I mean, I said it in the Donny van de Beek video. I don't know whether anyone watched the Donny van de Beek video I did earlier. Donny van de Beek, Kagawa, Jadon Sancho, Mkhitaryan, Mata. Over the last 10 years, we've bought technically good footballers, and they've all failed, really. And there's more. There's a lot more. Why is it that Manchester United fail with technically good footballers? Whatever you say about Jadon Sancho, and obviously I agree with him being suspended, and I don't agree with what he's done, but as a footballer, he's a technically good footballer. And he's, you know, even before the tantrums, he was a flop. You know, Jadon, we need to call it for what it is. It's very important to say this. Jadon Sancho, whatever's going on, I think it's right, but he's been here for 2 years before that. He's flopped. Jadon Sancho was a flop before the tweet. He's not a flop because of the tweet. He'd been here 2 years and he flopped. That's what interests me. Why did he flop? Why did Donny van de Beek flop? Why was Mata never really used properly? Why did Kagawa flop? Why did Mkhitaryan flop? There are so many technically good players over the last 10 years at Manchester United that have flopped. And I believe they flopped because the whole ethos, the whole identity of Manchester United over the last 10 years has been shit football. You know, Jaap Stam was saying to Gary Neville that this is not the Ten Hag that everyone recognises. Ten Hag is about possession football. But you can't play possession football when you've got shit players. And we haven't got technically good players at Manchester United. And therefore, we don't play good football. So we didn't play good football last year. We built our season on a strong defence. That Casemiro, back four, De Gea thing, and, you know, moments from the people like Bruno and Rashford. We don't play good football. We haven't played good football in probably 10, 11, 12 years. That is a horrible indictment on Manchester United when Brighton, Spurs, Villa play good football. And we don't play good football. We have a collection of players where it's been passed down the dressing rooms of the last 10 years where they are toxic and in control of the club. But it's also been passed down the club for years, this crap style of football, which is dependent on clean sheets and counter-attacking. Ollie did it. Can't you remember that year in COVID where we were unbeaten away for about 60 years? Well, it was all counter-attack. It was all based on counter-attack. Same with Jose and same with Ten Hag last year and this year. The style of football is shit. And I think the style of football is shit because we don't have the players. There is an identity at Manchester United, and that is inconsistency and crap football. And we've been like that for years. And it's not exclusive to Ten Hag. It wasn't exclusive to Ollie. It wasn't exclusive to Mourinho or Van Gaal or Moyes. It's just been a consistent theme for 10 years. And every time it gets exposed, when we try and buy a good technical footballer, and they stand out like a sore thumb. But you can't be a good technical footballer. If I'm Juan Mata or Donny van de Beek or Mkhitaryan or Sancho, I can't be a good technical footballer if I don't have somebody else on my wavelength. So you receive the ball, you look for a pass, it's not there. Or you pass the ball and you want it back and you never get it back. you know, the whole identity of the team has been crap for a long time. I really wonder what can work at this club. Every single approach is taken with different managers, from dictatorship to soft-handed. Need them gone, says Anthony. Mediocre players paid lots of money with no incentive to try and win. They get away with sacking managers that need to change. Bring in an army drill sergeant, says Kia. Slats, welcome to the Members Club. Everything Manchester United do is wrong. Everything we do is wrong. The footballers we buy, the wages we give, the incentives we give, you're absolutely spot on. If you go and work in a new place of work and they overpay you from day one and tell you you're great, are you going to go in and work hard? Are you going to work hard for 2 or 3 years? You might do if it's in you, but most people will go, I've made it. I'm pampered. This is great. I've won. I've won in life. I'm set up for life. This is great. I'm where I want to be. This is it. And that's what United do. You should always keep your players hungry. I respect teams like Liverpool that don't have stupid wage budgets. It's all about keeping players hungry, and United don't do it. You know, we'd be better off with 11 players who are on 120, 130 grand a week and are incentivized to win, to bump their wages up to 150, 200k a week. That's how we should be working, but we don't. You know, you take Anthony from Ajax on 20 grand a week and you give him 200 grand a week at United. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Slats, welcome to the Members Club. This team needs a top psychologist, Mark, and analyse the players who are focused and work hard on and off the field, says Stallion. It may well need that. It needs a clear out, more importantly. It needs personality, talent and consistency. Eric Ten Hag needs to treat the Liverpool game as a chance to show us what he can do whilst the chips are down, and treat the game as an opportunity, says Pillar. Welcome to the Members Club, Brandon. And the whole environment and mentality in that football club is crap. We overpay transfer fees and salaries for players with inflated egos and no talent, says Mario Franco. And that's why this story that's coming out again today that I've seen on social media, that Manchester United will look to sell Casemiro in January, absolutely terrifies me. Absolutely terrifies me, because this removal of Casemiro is opportunistic and 100% motivated by we've missed out on Champions League football. And I called this out in September, and it was a throwaway comment that nobody really believed, because, you know, even I didn't believe we couldn't finish in the Champions League. But we were talking about budgets, and we were talking about how much Manchester United are financially in trouble. And I said on a show something along the lines of, you know what, we're in so much trouble financially, if we fell out of Europe in December, we'd be selling good players in January. And you know, it was a throwaway comment. I'm not claiming it as, oh, foresight. It was just a throwaway comment talking about the financial situation at United. And I said, you know, if we did go out of Europe, we would be in big trouble. We'd have to sell players in January. This is what's happening right before our eyes. Right before our eyes. If we sell Casemiro, it's because we fell out of Europe. You know, these are the decisions that you have to make when you're financially in trouble and you basically lose 50 million quid because you didn't even qualify for Europe. So if we let Casemiro go in January, we're letting arguably our best player go to compensate from the fact that we didn't qualify for Europe, because we'll probably, with Casemiro going, we'll probably raise 30, 40 million, which will cover us going out of Europe. Absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? You know, we're having to sell to survive. It's crap. And I tell you what as well, we're having to sell one of our best players to survive. And I tell you what as well, if we let Casemiro go, you can say goodbye to any hope of top four. I mean, maybe we could still get Conference League or Europa League, but you know, it's a sorry state of affairs that we're thinking about doing that sort of thing. But that's what desperate clubs have to do. That's what desperate clubs have to do. And Marvin says, who's going to replace Casemiro? Nobody. It's a great point, Marvin. You're back on track. Nobody's going to replace Casemiro. It will be Amrabat, Mainu, Mount, McTominay. It will be them lot rotating around in the midfield trying to scrap results until the end of the season when we look at the midfield. You don't replace Casemiro in January. There's no player to replace Casemiro in January. You don't get a midfielder like that in January. This is just, this will be a sit down with Eric Ten Hag saying, you need to reduce the squad because you're only playing one game a week and you've cost us 40 million quid. So we need to raise that 40 million quid. This is a business decision, Eric. You need to trim the squad and we need to raise 40 million quid. And it will be, right, Casemiro's into his early 30s. We're going to have to replace him at some point. Let's cash in. It's a completely and utterly mercenary decision to raise money, and it will weaken us as a squad. And that's what happens when you're very close to being in the shit because of financial fair play and you lose a shitload of money. And Varane will probably be the next one. And it's very, very concerning. Who do you think is going to be the captain on Tuesday? When we played Leeds in pre-season, it was Varane, but considering what happened, I doubt it's him, says Selim. I think you mean on Sunday with no Bruno. We're not playing on Tuesday. Well, look, on injuries, I'm sure you watched the show with Beth for the press conference, but just to give you a quick summary, Maguire and Martial out, Shaw and Rashford back. So I would imagine the captain will either be Luke Shaw, Raphael Varane. That's where I'd be going. Obviously, it can't be Maguire because he's out. Bruno is suspended. So, yeah, you've got to go Luke Shaw or Raphael Varane. One of the two. Nice meeting you and Will at McDonald's. We need some proper people with experience to run Manchester United. To Sebastian, it was great to meet you as well, pal. Hope you're all right. And Salim says, who do you think is going to be the captain? I've done that one from Salim, yeah. So, yeah, I think you go with that. But look, this is what Erik ten Hag had to say today about pressure on him. And he said, look, I want to win and I want to progress in the right direction. We haven't met the standards. That is the truth. The future for Manchester United is very good when you see how many good young players are in the squad with high potential to play at the top level. Well, you know, I do think there is progress potentially there. I think Kobe Mainoo looks like a fantastic player. We know about Garnacho. There are others as well. Asked if he still has the club's backing, I feel that, and they tell me that. That's fine, that's okay, but I'm focusing on the process and making this team better, making these individuals better. Look, even I get slightly irritated by that. This is a coach that, you know, talks a good game when we're not playing a good game. There are things that he needs to do. And I don't want to see the manager being sacked, but you know why I don't want to see the manager sacked. And in no way is this me saying Ten Hag's the right man. That's quite simply, I will be very, very honest with you. And you can clip it, you can remember it, you can memorize it. Do what you want to do with this, but I will make it crystal clear. I back Erik ten Hag because I do not want to see another manager sacked before we remove the shit from the squad that causes the manager to be sacked and we put an infrastructure above the manager to support them doing their job. Because if we sack the manager first, the players will get away with it again, and so will the infrastructure. So I do not want to sack another manager. I've seen it happen to Ollie. I've seen it happen to Van Gaal. I've seen it happen to Jose. I do not want to sack another manager because it's a cycle. On the other hand, I do not sit here in front of you and lie and say Ten Hag fills me with confidence that he's going to bring back the glory days. I hope that being given the time he deserves, he will do that. But I have massive concerns about that. I wouldn't bet £10 on the fact that he's going to do it. I think it's very, very, very shaky. And the reason for that is I do not understand why he spent £50 million replacing a goalkeeper he didn't need to replace when he could have spent it on more important areas. I do not understand the signing of Mason Mount because I do not understand how Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes play in the same team. And you're always going to pick Bruno. And I do not understand why he continues to pick Scott McTominay. I saw a graph today about key passes and progressive passes. And it was like, you know, there's the line, there's the line. Bruno Fernandes is up here. Scott McTominay's down here. So we've got the number one midfielder in the league for progressive and key passes. And we've also got the worst midfielder in the league for it. If Scott McTominay doesn't score, he has a bad game. That's basically describes Scott McTominay in a sentence. If he scores, he has a good game. If he doesn't score, he's exposed. And I don't understand why Ten Hag keeps doing that at this level. So there are concerns about what Ten Hag is doing. And of course he can sack himself. And of course he's on the road to being sacked. But it just amazes me that any Manchester United fan or even journalist, if we give them a credit of having brain cells, would look at this situation and happily push another manager exit when the most important thing is that we finally point the finger at the two areas that are to blame for this. Who got Mourinho the sack? The players. Who got Ollie the sack? The players. Who got Rangnick the sack? The people above him who hung him out to dry. Who got Van Gaal the sack? The board and the players. You know, there is a running theme here. There is a running theme here. And we can't sack another manager because of the board or the players. We need to change the players and we need to change the board. He's going to captain Rashford. You saw the smirks, as Josh. Mate, you know, if he captains Marcus Rashford, that's stupid. I wouldn't even start Rashford. So captaining him here, it would be, you know, I think look, I like Rashford. You know I like Rashford. I think he's had a shit season. But if you captain Marcus Rashford, then we may as well be called Marcus United, because he's done nothing to deserve the captaincy. His attitude on the pitch this season has shown no leadership qualities. So that would just be I can't see that happening. It would be absolutely ridiculous. I can't see that happening. But I would start Rashford, as I said on the preview last night. I think his pace against Trent, you know, could be important. What do you think about Martial being out? Well, Martial's apparently ill, so he's been ill a week. He doesn't help himself, does he? I mean, I've only ever had an issue with Martial in relation to his fitness, but when the going gets tough, you need your players to play. I'm sure Harry Maguire would love to play, but we knew he wasn't going to play. As soon as he, you know, he's touching his groin, pardon, you know, what you might be imagining, but that, you know, he's out for 2 weeks with that at least. Mark, honestly, what players can we attract now, says Chris? I think we'll always attract players, mate. Ashwin says, when Hansi Flick, Conte and Lopetegui are available, it makes no sense for Ineos to stick with the manager who's clearly out of his depth. Well, it's not clearly out of his depth. That's just, you're just subjecting your opinion onto us. I'll now subject my opinion onto you. Hansi Flick is very similar to Erik ten Hag. Conte is a complete and utter shithouse dictator. And Lopetegui, I don't think he's good enough for the job. So, what, you know, you say when Hansi Flick, Conte and Lopetegui are available, why would you stick with Ten Hag? Conte would be a bloody disgrace at United. He wouldn't work. Hansi Flick is very similar to Ten Hag. And Lopetegui, I don't think he's good enough. So, you know, there's my answer. I don't think any of those are good enough, Ashwin. And you know what? If I thought we had the playing squad that would shit themselves and work hard, really, really hard, if we had a dictator coach, then maybe I would go and get Conte. I wanted Conte when Solskjaer got sacked. I can't remember who. Oh, it was Gary Neville, wasn't it, who said there's no way United will buy Conte, get Conte, and they didn't. And the reason I think Gary Neville said that was because Conte is an ego dictator. Wow, that's never going to work. You know, as somebody said, and we've been talking about it for a few weeks, if Ten Hag needs to be replaced, you're only going to repeat mistakes of the past. There is no manager profile out there that's any different to anything we've tried. Conte is just a different Mourinho, isn't he, at the end of the day? Barat, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. You know what? I would have gone for Conte after Ollie, because it would have been a coach. You know, after Ollie, we sort of went for this interim thing that destroyed Rangnick, and I wanted Rangnick to be the director of football, so I didn't like that decision. But Conte was available at that time, and I'd have given it a go. I would have given it a go at the time. Not now. Yeah. We're not the great team we were, says Warren G. Why is Ten Hag benching... I don't know what you're talking about, Richard. Conte has never progressed beyond the quarters of the Champions League. Only one league title outside Italy. Good coach, but a Poundland Mourinho, says Yannick. Well, I didn't want to be that offensive, but I think you've absolutely nailed that. Honcho says you've also got to take into account injuries that have ruined the team. Yeah, I think you have. I do think you have, but you know, sometimes I just feel that the only two players that we're missing are Casemiro and Martinez. I mean, Mason Mount, we never knew you. There are other reasons. There are other problems. You know, there was a great point this morning. How can Bruno Fernandes be the most creative player in the Premier League, but Rasmus never gets any chances? And I think that's you know, maybe it's the wine, I don't know, but I do actually, you know, I think it's amazing how many chances Bruno creates. But then I do think we're a team that doesn't create chances. So Bruno must create every chance we have, because we don't actually create many chances, I don't think. But then Bruno's top for it. Would you still take Brendan Rodgers, says the snail? No. But you've got to remember that when it was the end with Ollie, it felt like, you know, you'd take most things. But, you know, Donny's talking about Rasmus. I think Rasmus will come good. I liked what Ten Hag said in his press conference today about Rasmus. I feel that Rasmus is a player that is, you know, very, very young, has to be by definition a work in progress. And I think there are positive signs, but it's a very difficult job. It's a very difficult job to play in a team that's playing shit and be 20 years of age. I mean, you want to put Rasmus into a Man City team. You want to put him into a Liverpool team. You want to put him into an Arsenal team. You don't want to put him in a Chelsea team or a Man United team, you know, where there's all this pressure and there's no, you know, there's no chemistry. But I think Rasmus will end. Yeah, I'm willing. I've said this before. For what it's worth, and it's worth something because people clip us up all the time, don't they? And they've done it for years. But for what it's worth, I'm willing to stake my reputation on Rasmus. I think he will be a success, and I think I'll be sat here with those who back him in the future, going, "Told you so." I've seen enough. I know there's a player there. I think the only thing that would destroy his career is if he got a really bad injury or something like that. I think he's a, you know, and touch wood he won't. But I've seen enough. I think there's more than enough there that he will be a top striker. And a lot of it comes down to service. But you know, some people will be laughing about that in the chat. Some people will agree with it. I don't really care. That's my opinion. Ty says it's a kiss of death, but I've always said it. I'd go the other way and say that I'm not so sure about Onana, and I'm not so sure about Mount. So I'm not blindly backing Ten Hag. You look at his 3 big signings in the summer. I think Rasmus will be a success. Mount, I don't know. Onana, I've got to say, a lot of people have said to me, you know, you're being very harsh on Onana. I think he needs it. We're not here to piss about. We're not here to, you know, wrap Christmas presents. We're Manchester United, and if a player's not good enough, you say it. We always have. I don't know why we're opposed to that. Is it society? Are we getting scared to, you know, speak our minds about football? You know, from being a kid, watching any level of football to now, I've always seen people criticising players. You're not good enough. You're subbed. You're not playing next week. That's pub football. That's under 14s football. 5-a-side football. You know, that's the way it is. Playing your FIFA games. You don't pick people who are playing badly. You replace them. You sub them. You sell them. And I think we have to be harsh on Onana because it's 50 million quid for a goalkeeper. As I said, we're buying the second best goalkeeper in the league. You know, one of the best. I personally thought Onana came in as the second best goalkeeper in the league. People laugh about that statement, but we just spent 50 million pounds on a bloody goalkeeper who had a great game in the Champions League final. What were you expecting? You were expecting him to do this? You're expecting him to knock us out of Europe? You're expecting him to look fucking shit? We paid £50 million for a goalkeeper. I quite rightly assumed we were buying one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So I'm going to be harsh and say he ain't performing. And look, if he's lacking confidence and we need to put an arm round him, put a coat round him, put him on the bench. Put a new manager, put a new coach, not a new manager, bloody hell. Put a new goalkeeper in place. I want Onana to succeed. I think one of the big problems is we don't play football the way that suits him. But you know, you've got to do the basics then. This cycle of players, Glazer's sacking manager got to stop at one point, says Keena. Until then, the glory is far away. And his only flaw was not creating squad depth. Injuries are no excuse. A competent manager prepares for the worst. Major rebuild is mandatory. Take care, says Tactical Tactician. And Jason says, Mark, I'm 14 months a member and not once disagreed with you. Happy Christmas to you and yours and all at the channel. Keep up the good work. Great channel, great content. Jason, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you. Of course, we will be live all the way up to Christmas and through Christmas. But Jason, one bit of advice for 2024. It unnerves me when people say they don't disagree with me. I think you have to. Because otherwise you don't get the full effect of what we are as a community. It is passionate. It is debate. It is about, you know, having different opinions. I mean, it's great if you completely agree with me, of course, and I'll take that. But I'm not offended if people disagree with me. You know, there's some great people like I mentioned before, Chris the Red, Marvin, AM, been with us for years, and I absolutely love the fact that people have different opinions because that's what makes us what we are. Ten Hag, I will keep playing McTominay, but I'll let Donny go, says Mr. Dage. Well, I've done the video on Donny. Mark, I remember watching Bartes and Bosnich. I don't think Onana has nerves. I don't think he actually is a good goalkeeper. Schoolboy errors, says Parker. I said the goal he conceded against Bayern was shite. People told me I was wrong. I was right. Must have been a poetry there, wasn't it? There's a brilliant camera from behind the goal. I think it's a fan in the crowd, and it just he's not central. He's too close to his line. He's anticipating that Kingsley Coman's going to shoot straight away. In that position, every goalkeeper should be running out as quick as they can, big, trying to close the angle, and he doesn't. You look at the Cole Palmer goal. Look at the Cole Palmer goal again. He's too far to the right, too far to the left on the Coman one, too far to the right, too close to his line. It's a P-roller, goes in the bottom corner. His positioning at the moment is terrible. Now, look, we've all been there. When you're under pressure, when you're lacking confidence, you start doing the simple things well. I can go into my back garden and I can do 200, 300, 400 keep-ups under no pressure. I was on stage at the Spotify event last January, and it was me against Ben Foster. He did 30. I was like, I've beat him, piece of piss. I can do this blindfolded. But in front of 100, 200 people, you flick it up, and on kick 3, I'm like, I've lost control. And then the crowd start going, oh, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to lose. And I fought against it, but I was never in control. And then I hit 40 and I'd beat him, and suddenly relax again. And you're like, eyes closed, you do 90 and go, that'll be enough. Pressure can hurt you. And I just think at the moment, I think Onana's a better goalkeeper than he is, but I think the confidence and the nerves are making him question things that should be coming naturally. Definitely. Shit, I'm meant to be on That's Football. Right, okay. Let's continue the conversation over there. I'm back on here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Don't forget to check out Surfshark. You can get 6 months free with the virtual private network. It's fantastic. Give it a try. That's what I would say. And the code for you to use is in the video description as well, but I'll give it you again. The code is, of course, United Stand, all one word. I will see you over on That's Football, where we'll be talking about polar bears. We'll be ranking Quality Street, and talking much, much more. It's going to be a great Christmassy Friday night watch along. Forest against Spurs. I'll see you there in a few minutes. Take care, everyone.